So that's what we're doing today. So the last video I did was rank my top 10 favorite Richard D. James tracks, which he's known as the godfather of IDM. So to get this right, I wrote down information like hell, and then we got to the ranking and on the next paper and whatever. So I just gonna keep it short because it's so much. So keep the short information. So IDM, intelligent dance music, probably started with the Artificial Intelligence album, Warp's Artificial Intelligence album, released in 1992. Various artists with Richard D. James as the Dice Man, and Outekre, Rob Brown and Sean Booth had two tracks on the album, and probably the most known. So I know the info already, all the information, even before I wrote down most important things, but it's just too much. So but anyway, so the most important is really, yeah, it's Richard D. James under his first real studio album under his alias Aphex Twin, his most legendary alias, selected Ambient Works 85 to 92, which is known as the where like IDM got its name. IDM, before the Artificial Intelligence compilation with various artists, Richard D. James under other aliases before. So that's really, but selected the first studio album he made under Aphex Twin, selected Ambient Works 85 to 92, really is where IDM got its name, intelligent dance music. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the most important. So yeah, it's obviously Richard D. James under many of his aliases, especially Aphex Twin, which is his most legendary, most known. And then Square Pusher, Tom Jenkinson, and Music, Mike Paradina. So those are, for obvious reasons, very, very important in the genres, sort of. And in later years, there Vanita Snares, Aaron Funk got almost like classified in the same class, like as being that important, but it's many other importance in between and before anyway. So, but what about Outekre? Outekre, you know, they're equals with Richard D. James, Aphex Twin, but they're a duo. They're Rob Brown and Sean Booth. They're absolutely equals, but you know, IDM in the beginning, you could recognize this style sort of between like Outekre, Aphex Twin, and Outekre, early IDM. The drum patterns, strange drum patterns, melodic sort of stuff, and but it was not really the same. And when you talk about, for example, Aphex Twin and Music, yeah, that's pretty much the same genre. So, but Music really copying Aphex Twin through the times anyways, and Music's Mike Paradina's biggest influence, as he said himself, was Richard D. James on in Richard D. James aliases and everything. So what are IDM, intelligent dance music? First of all, it's a ridiculous term, intelligent dance music. You know, electronic dance music, EDM, intelligent dance music, IDM. That's just a name, sometimes called brain dance, and many in the IDM scene, you know, think that is a ridiculous term. And one of the things is it's not dance music. It's not music to dance to. It's very experimental. But the early IDM stuff in the early 90s to almost mid-90s, you recognize the sort of style, and there's other who continue with this. Fortet, for example, and Mira Collix, who died not long ago, so may her rest in peace. And many other who continue with the classic sound, but it, with times it has got very different. So, for example, glitch, experimental, drum and bass, drill and bass, jungle, acid and breakcore and whatever, got to mix it. So it's a whole, you know, it's like an umbrella of different styles. So the IDM umbrella is many different genres, many different styles. But if you're a deep-rooted fan, you really recognize if you heard a song for the first time, and you will recognize it's in the IDM umbrella. So yeah, that's for sure. So because IDM as a whole, with all the genres and everything, is my favorite genre of all time, with all the genres, you know, in the IDM umbrella and everything. So what I think IDM is mostly known probably with time is like crazy drum patterns and uneven drum patterns that don't sound like typical, very strange and usual, very out of the box, with melodic stuff and everything can be added. And so that's not how it started, but it's how it's developed with all the genres and everything. So here I gonna go what I wrote. So when I started this list many days ago, I finished a few days ago. I had many artists to go through, and I ended up with 53 songs from over 10 artists, which could be in my top 10 favorite tracks, IDM tracks. I had to figure out my top 10, where many artists known as some of the best in the genres, and some obscure that didn't make it, but it was so many artists in total. But anyways, when I started to do, okay, this is my top 10 and everything, 53 tracks, over 10 artists, many tracks before and many other artists. But yeah, and I went down and down and down. So yeah, this is yet again a new hardest list, I have to say. Well, let's get down to the ranking. I'm not glad I jumped over every info and everything, because it was just too much. I just summing up everything, which was long enough, almost 10 minutes. So let's get down to the ranking. Us on my top 10 favorite IDM tracks of all time. 10, Iambic 9 Poetry by Squarepusher. Third track from his album Ultra Visitor 2004, almost a 7-minute track. I think this album was quite unusual for Squarepusher, Tom Yankison at the time. I think it was recorded live. What I heard and how it sounds on the album, I think it was real drums, a real drummer and everything, but he obviously wrote everything, but really beautiful euphoric track, really beautiful. And his bass is heard on this beautiful, what is it, a synth, absolutely beautiful euphoric track. Always been one of my favorite IDM tracks, and always gonna be. 9, Girlboy Song by Aphex Twin. 9th track from his album, Richard D. James album 1996, almost a 5-minute track. Yeah, here is, when we talk about IDM and everything, how it's changed, this is really, I think the whole album was made in computers, I'm not sure. So for example, this track is a real drum and bass, drill and bass track, so beautiful, big sounding, I think it's violins and this really crazy, fast, hyperactive drum patterns going through. Really crazy and beautiful. Known as one of Richard's best songs, and especially under his alias Aphex Twin. Amazing track. 8, A Journey to Reedham 7 a.m. mix. This was the track I was playing in the beginning of this video. So it's not a remix or anything, it's not really an original track by Squarepusher. Opening track from his EP Big Loader 1997, a bit over a 6.5 minute track. I think this is probably known as Squarepusher's best track. It's a really Squarepusher sounded track. Really crazy fast drum patterns in his typical style as he's known for. Very original, him and everything. This sort of synth sounds that sounds like almost like video game-ish music, early video game music, like that represent the cover of the EP Big Loader, the text and the sort of 8-bit figures and the 8-bit text and everything, Squarepusher and Big Loader. Yeah, this is a really crazy, it's like, you know, it's a calm, but at the same time really crazy, hyperactive, fast, erratic track at the same time. So it's I think he really made it with this one. Really crazy beautiful track. Wow. Absolutely extraordinary track. Absolutely love it. 7, Shortcuts by The Fleshbulb. The Fleshbulb, a 15 track from his album Carillion Selections 2005. Almost a 3-minute track. My favorite album of The Fleshbulb, Ben Jordan. Already from the beginning, you know, it's like the most beautiful piano piece composition you will ever hear. It gets a little bit IDM glitchy towards the end, and I would say this is probably my favorite piano piece of all time. And you know, Ben Jordan, The Fleshbulb, with under his alias The Fleshbulb, he used to do this kind of track that are not in his albums. Some albums aren't even IDM, and so some albums have many tracks that aren't. This has a little bit of it. I would just say this is the most beautiful piano piece I have ever heard, and it has some IDM glitchy stuff in it towards the end. So 6, Alberto Balsam by Aphex Twin, 10 track from his album I Care Because You Do, a bit over 5-minute track. This is a very melodic, very beautiful IDM tight track for its time. and has drums, the drum patterns with metal sounds going together. Extremely beautiful masterpiece. I think he really got it good with this track. So it's a very IDM-ish type track for its time. So it was, I think, recorded in 94, but the album was released in 95. Aphex Twin always is ahead of his time, but yeah, it's for his time it's pretty much what you expect, but very, very good for an IDM track. 5 Window Licker by Aphex Twin. First track and title track of a single Window Licker 1999, a bit over 6-minute track. Where it all started for me. The music video and everything, the year 2000, 22 years ago. Where I got totally obsessed with Aphex Twin and led me to the whole journey of IDM and the whole IDM umbrella and everything and all the genres in it. So a very strange sexual sounding track. Manipulated voices sound like female voices. It's his voice. It has a chorus. Oh, oh, oh. I mean, it's a very strange track. You know, this track is like a one and only. There's no other track like this one. It's some absolute masterpiece, and yeah, it's amazing. Very strange track. Absolutely amazing. 4, I Left My Heart in Syntax Error by Scilab. A track from his album Slobian Sunset 1996, a 5-minute and 40+ second track. Yeah, so a very beautiful track, has this beautiful catchy synth with drums, and you know the drums complement the synth perfectly in this track, absolutely perfectly. It's a bit big sounding. It's apparently recorded in 1995, and for its time it's very, you know, where IDM has gone through. So it's very, very, for its time it's a very IDM of that time sort of track. So a very beautiful masterpiece. Always gonna be very euphoric. Always gonna be one of my favorites. Absolutely, always gonna be. I really love this track. So 3 known one by Outekre. Third track from their album Oversteps 2010. A 4 minutes 40+ second track. A kind of dark, deep, beautiful track with this slider, kind of like irritating synths that is tricked with, like, what is it? Tricked with, like, interrupted in it. But it's at the same time it's so beautiful, and this is the Outekre magic. Outekre does, like, irritating beautiful. It's a very euphoric track, kind of big sounding, absolutely amazing. I'm gonna explain more of this with the next track. So Drain 2 by Outekre. 11th and final track from their album LP5 1998. Oh my god. Start off irritating, glitchy, distorted, sort of, you know, and then this extremely beautiful yet a bit irritating euphoric synth sounds comes in, and bouncing sort of sounds. The driving force of the track, the synth especially, I think is a synth, kind of irritating sounds at times, and weird time signature. This track it has a weird time signature. But again, the weird Al-Tekra magic. The Al-Tekra magic to make it so strangely weird, weird, irritating, beautiful. It's a really unique ability that they have, you know. It's so hard to explain if you haven't listened to our track and know what I mean. This track is extremely fucking euphoric. Really euphoric, and you know, Al-Tekra is probably the master of that. So weird, disturbing, irritating, but euphoric. Hard to explain if you haven't heard Al-Tekra. It's a kind of hard listen track. Many things going on in it, but it's so beautiful, you know, like with Known One. Only Al-Tekra can make a track like this. So, and here, so the actual track is like almost a 9 minutes and 40 seconds, followed by a silence over 12 minutes. Then later a half minute, 1.5 minute bonus track, which is this noises and everything. So it's like 23 and 20 seconds track in total. But the actual track is like 9 minutes for the track. And now we get to the euphoria for me. So one. Clipper by Al-Tekra. Yeah, my 3 favorite IDM tracks of all time under the whole IDM umbrella are Al-Tekra. 1. Clipper by Al-Tekra. Second track from their album Try Repeat in 1995. My favorite album of all time. My favorite studio album of all time. A bit over 8.5 minute track. I would say this is probably, maybe, if not the most euphoric track I have ever heard in my whole life. This sound is... it's kind of many strange sounds that works like drums, but it isn't drums. And this beautiful sound coming in like I can't replicate it. It's impossible. You have to listen to the track. Woo, 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 woo. I just can't do that sound. So and it's absolutely unbelievable how euphoric the sound is and how it works together with the other sounds, which actually some drums, and it gets sort of like this beautiful sounds, but it's kind of irritating, creeping up with this almost like sci-fi sound, and it gets a little bit different to them. But this beautiful, most beautiful euphoric sound in the 7th track from this album, Sea Patch, has the same, but in a different instrument, whatever, a different pace and a different, you know, sound, but it's the same sound, but in a different instrument, whatever they use, I don't know really, but yeah. This Clipper by Al-Tekra is, I would say, probably, if you would start with, if you're trying to get into IDM, the roots of it, which I really love. So I wouldn't say that Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92 by Aphex Twin is the perfect choice to start with. I would say that this album, Try Repeat by Al-Tekra, their 3rd album, is, yeah, this is where you start. if you're gonna try to get into or are interested or want to get into IDM, start with this. And then you go to Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92 by AFX Twin. So anyways, Clipper by Autechre is my #1 favorite IDM track. And the next video I'm gonna do is my top 10 favorite IDM artist in the whole umbrella, you know. So thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.